What's going on, guys? My name is James Davis. I am a filmmaker out of North Stonington, Connecticut, and today we're going to be talking about how to do this. Okay, so today we're obviously talking about speed ramping, and more specifically how to speed ramp to the beat of music. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of recreate the first clip of that song because it kind of has everything that we need to know within it. So I'm going to hop into this project here, and basically all I've done is I've taken that same song that you guys were just hearing and I copy and pasted it into my timeline. And if we zoom in a little bit, you'll notice that I placed markers. And these markers are essentially where I want clips to start, speed ramp, and end. So this first clip right here, the one of Ken Block's Hoonicorn here, we're going to start at the inlet of this turbo, and we are going to end over here. So what I'm going to want to do here, my first step is before I speed ramp anything, when you speed up the motion of any clip, it's going to really highlight any kind of shakiness of your hands throughout the shot, and I did this all handheld. What I'm going to want to do is apply a warp stabilizer to this clip before I even get started with it. When you're applying a warp stabilizer as well, something I usually like to do is turn it down a little bit if I'm keeping it on this subspace warp here. Essentially what subspace warp is going to bend and move this frame as much as it possibly can, or as little as it possibly can, to keep everything kind of steady and smooth. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this down to like 30% instead of 50%. That way it's not too aggressive. Okay, now that Premiere has stabilized my clip, I'm just going to kind of watch through this and make sure that it didn't do anything too crazy. Okay, so it looks pretty normal. Alright, that's livable. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to nest this clip. So when you're first starting out, you cannot apply warp stabilizer and any kind of time remapping or speed ramping to a clip at the same time. So our solution or our way around that is to nest this. So I'm just going to right click and nest. Okay. So now this is essentially a brand new clip with that warp stabilizer kind of baked into it. So now what I need to do is I want my speed ramping to match this part of my song here. So I'm just going to kind of unmute this song so you guys can hear exactly the part that I want to use for this time remapping or this speed ramping here. So I'm just going to let you listen to this. It's kind of like a reverb-ish slash low pass. I don't know exactly, but it just kind of sounds like a good spot for some kind of speed ramp. So we'll just listen to this real quick. Right there. Okay, so between these two markers is where I want my speed ramping to happen. So we know that about the song. Now in the video clip we need to pick the two places where we want this to speed up and then slow down. So we could do that up here in our effects control panel, but this is not terribly accurate all the time. It's kind of hard to time things within the effects control panel, so I'm going to choose to do it within my timeline here. So the way that I do that, anytime that I bring up a clip like this, if your clips are smaller, by the way, just double click on the video track over to the left here and it'll bring up the clip. That'll make it a little bit bigger and it'll give you this line here. This is for my opacity. I don't want that. I want this to be speed ramping or time remapping. So I'm going to right click, go to the bottom menu option, show clip keyframes, time remapping, and then speed. So now this line in the middle here represents my speed. So I just need to pick the 2 points in time where I want this to speed up and slow down within the video clip. So I'm going to hold down Command and I'm going to add a keyframe right here on my first marker. I'm going to fast forward here. I'll mute this again so it's not annoying for you guys. And we'll say about right here is where I want it to slow down. So again, I'm going to hold down Command on my keyboard and add a keyframe. Now at this point we can actually start our time remapping, our speed ramping. I can just take this line and lift it up. as much as I possibly can, and my goal here is to get it to 1000. Now Premiere will only let you do this to 1000%. So our only option now to get this to go faster between these 2 points is to nest this and to do that all over again. So the way that I have to do that is I have to add an adjustment layer on top here that I can add some markers to, so that I know where in time these 2 keyframes were, because when I nest it they go away. So essentially I'm just going to go down here, right click in my menu bin, and just get a new adjustment layer going. Bring that over the top of my clip here. Okay, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my keyframes here. There's my first one, and I'm just going to add a marker on that clip, on that adjustment layer. I'm going to go to my next keyframe, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to mark it so I know where in time that keyframe was, and then I can nest this, and I'll retain the information within my timeline where those 2 keyframes were. So we'll nest this again. Okay, and again it's going to revert us back to opacity right here. So we want to go right click, show clip keyframes, time remapping, speed. So I'm going to go to my first marker, mark that in by holding down Command, go over to my next marker, add one again, and then I'm going to take my playhead and I'm just going to bring it to the point in the music where I want that keyframe, this keyframe, to go to. I'll zoom in a little bit so we can see a little bit better, and I'm just going to drag this line up until that keyframe hits the marker in my song. Boom. Okay, so now we have a speed ramp that matches the beat of our song. And all we really need to do now is to clean this up a bit. So I can delete my adjustment layer now. I don't need this anymore, so I'm just going to delete that. And I'm going to work on these keyframes right here. And all I'm going to do is pull them apart and adjust them so that the top of my speed ramp on this newly nested clip matches with that marker in my song. And then I'm going to go over here, do the same thing to the end. I'm just going to drag this same thing so that top of my speed ramp is at that keyframe, or at that marker in my song there. From there, all I'm going to do is kind of give this a little bit of a curve here, so it's not a linear speed ramp, so it looks a little bit more human, and we should be good. So now I'm just going to mark the ins and outs of this clip and render it so that you guys can see the finished product. Now that's rendered, I will unmute the song and we can listen to this and watch the video and see if it matches correctly. Okay, so that's essentially what we're going for. Alright guys, well I hope that you found this video helpful. 2 tips is just make sure that you do the adjusting of your time remapping within the timeline itself rather than up here in the effects control panel. That way you kind of have the audio right underneath you to work against. And as well as make sure you put markers within your song where you want things to speed up, slow down, or switch from one clip to the next. That way this isn't super time consuming and you're able to get it done in a reasonable amount of time and accurately as well, so the video looks good. Again, if you found this video helpful, please subscribe to the channel guys, throw me a thumbs up, I really appreciate it. If you have any suggestions for new videos, please drop them below in the comments and I will see you on the next one.
This is a mini display of our brand new ARE double cover. And the real cool thing about this, and we're very excited about this product, is because it's basically 2 functions. So it's a retractable.